Now, quickly, there are more issues to be discussed, and probably you have many questions that you want to ask. So let me take the pleasure of moderating this panel discussion, and all the presenters, please come to the stage, and let me invite Yilebes Addis, our panelist, to the stage, CEO of EthSwitch. And brief profile, Mr. Yilebes Addis has over 20 years of executive and board experience in payments, fintech, banking, and ICT. He is currently the CEO of EthSwitch. He also serving as a board member and director of Saday Bank Share Company and advisory board member of Comesa CBC. He has MSc and BSc in computer science from Addis Ababa University. Before joining EthSwitch, Mr. Yilebes was the chief information officer, CIO, and CTO of Kafia Financial Technology. He has also served at CBE as manager ICT project training and rollout. He has also worked as a lecturer and trainer at Addis Ababa University, Hilco, as well as Unity University and Microlink. Please welcome him to the stage for the panel discussion. And let me also invite Mr. Bewket Taffere, Raxio, Ethiopia. Please welcome Bewket and his brief profile. Bewket has over 20 years of experience in the telecom, IT, and fintech industries. He has successfully demonstrated his leadership and management qualities across the industries. He recently joined Raxio Group as a general manager. He carrying out the mission of building and operating the state-of-the-art data center to the Ethiopian market and beyond. He began his career with Ethio Telecom right away after receiving his college degree, and since then he has progressively worked in different positions, delivering impeccable results in the company. Following that, he has taken the role of sales director, chief operation officer, and country manager in different organizations over the years, the CIT Communications, Eber MFAs, and Channel VAS, respectively. So please welcome Bewket to the stage as another panelist from. Also, we have another panelist, Elias Debebe from National ID Program. Please come to the stage. He is engineering lead, National ID Program, as well as INSA Deputy Division Director, Platform Development Division. Please welcome him to the stage. We also have Professor Stephen Jones. Is he there? Can he hear us?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're there.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much. So, we're not taking much time into the discussion. I know we're late. I know you have also many questions to ask. And let me throw a question to first, welcome to the stage. And let me give the opportunity to Mr. Yilebes at this EthSwitch. I know you are, everybody knows that you're leading EthSwitch, and my question is, in the ecosystem, EthSwitch is one of the players. So, what is the role of EthSwitch in terms of enabling and driving the ecosystem? What's the contribution? Can you start by elaborating that to us, please?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Gemechu. Thank you for having me, and thank you, audiences. Thank you for the question. Yeah, the EthSwitch is the national switch, which is owned by all financial institutes, banks, microfinance institutes, payment instrument shares, and payment operators. So, at the company owned by all financial institutes, which is the initiative of the National Bank of Ethiopia, it has a clear role in driving the finance ecosystem. one of the mandate and the role given by the central bank is creating interoperability. So the purpose of creating interoperability is not just for the sake of creating interoperability between technical gadgets, but actually enabling the ecosystem and lowering the cost of financial services provision, as well as enabling and bringing the access to the financial services. In effect, there will be also the usage of already invested digital systems that can be ATM, POS, or any other infrastructure that can be shared between financial institutions. When do so, it helps to lower the cost of the services for the users, in effect, which help us to increase the financial inclusion rate of the country. There is also the second role, which is creating a domestic payment scheme. The domestic payment scheme is not only a technical or a rules perspective, but also it is from the national security perspective as well. The domestic scheme is also required in the financial sector. So having the clear rule, having the clear technical standards will help to drive an ease of access and helps also for the innovation for the fintech and other institutes. These are the major two mandates were the enabler of the ecosystem, which helps to drive the finance sector, as well as there is the huge area where we share the infrastructure and platforms by the financial institutes. As you know, I said it's owned by all banks. You know, these banks are competing each other. So the clear model where cooperation prevail is EthSwitch than competition. So they cooperate, but there are 4 key issues to be addressed in the cooperation between these competing financial institutions. The first issue to be addressed is a trust issue that is already addressed before its establishment. The second issue to be addressed when these competing institutions come together is the economics model. What is it for everyone? What is the shareholding? What is the advantage? What is the pricing? And so on will be there. And the third one is the technology. It includes standardization of the technology, availability of the data center, availability of the all infrastructure, the connectivity, the platforms. And the fourth one is the regulatory, the regulatory aspect, having the proclamation that can support this ecosystem that can help all payment operators as well, the directives and so on. So these 4 issues were addressed in the establishment of the national switch as well. So as a role, we play a big role in the enabling the financial sector.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yilebes. Let me follow up on this quickly,
okay.
And I'll add. Others can add more questions.
Yeah.
From a customer perspective, what you do in the ecosystem, what does that mean? What are the benefits from a customer point of view? Of course, you can also highlight in relation to that, what are the banks and other institutions in the finance sector can benefit? That could probably understood, but from a customer perspective, can you touch base on that?
All right. Okay, thank you. Initially, when the national switch was established before 10 years, one of the major challenges was understanding its role, the purpose. Is it competing with the existing financial institutes? Is it competing with the fintech? Is it adding value to the customer, agents, merchants? What is value? So thank you for raising this question. Because we are not directly providing a service to consumers. We are not directly going to the merchants. We are neither acquirer nor issuer, and we don't hold accounts of the customers. But we indirectly enable all consumers. So let's take, for instance, the ATM interoperability. As a customer, if you have the ATM card of Bank A, previously, before interoperability, you have to search for the ATM of your bank. You cannot get service from others. But actually, that is a huge investment that can be shared by the existing other financial institutions as well as customers. So now, you can go to any ATM, you can do ATM transactions. And the second one, POS, before creating interoperability, when you go to the merchant, there are about 10 POSes on a table. When you go to purchase, the cashier asks you, I want to use card. The cashier asks you, which bank? Then you have to search whether your bank POS is there or not. If your bank POS is there, you will get a service. But look at, that is the huge investment where you buy in a foreign currency, which cost us, maybe recently is the price is getting lower and lower, but it's between $500 to $1,000. Then you have 10 POSes that can serve other merchants in one location. But now you can have your card, regardless of thinking whether your bank has a POS or not, you can do service. You can get a service. And the third one that we recently created interoperability is interbank person-to-person transfer that allows account to account, account to wallet, wallet to account, or wallet to wallet. So as a customer, when you ask the transfer from one bank to another bank, you go to your bank, and a bank asks you, okay, Dr. Gemechu, you want to transfer money to Yilebes? Please, why don't you bring him to open an account in my bank? So you can transfer from bank account, from your bank account to my bank account, or from your wallet to my wallet, as well as from your wallet to account, or from wallet to wallet as well. So this is enabling the consumers. I'm talking from the services perspective that we get. On top of that, you'll get more benefits as a consumer. There is also a considerable cost of transaction reduction, because that's shared between all other financial institutes, that the cost will be reduced when you get that service. Besides, the cost of getting your service going to direct to your bank or ATM also costs you a lot, like transportation cost. Now you don't need to do that. So it has a lot of benefit to consumers as well as merchants. A merchant, they don't need to have big, long table to place all those POSes. They can use one POS, and they can do all transactions electronically. Yeah. They don't need to count cash. There are lots of the expense associated with cash management as well. So we are also avoiding those things. So we are helping indirectly the consumers, the merchants, and agents who are all in the ecosystem, not only the financial institutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let me go to Mr. Elias Debebe, who joined us now. My question for national ID, or now, we seem to have this confusion between your program says Ethiopian National ID program. At the same time, you are saying on the card I have one that says Ethiopian Digital ID card. So what are we talking about? Can you clarify? Because I hear these questions being asked quite a number of times. And the other thing I want to answer is that, how is it different? Ebenezer touched it earlier, but how is it different? We're about to have many of them in our pocket, in our wallet. Of course, I understand it's a digital one, this one, but which one is most important, or which one is the foundation? Can you explain, touch base on this, please?
Okay, thank you. Glad you asked these questions, and thank you also for this opportunity to explain this. Yeah, we heard these questions most of the time, so yeah, it's a little bit somehow confusing. Basically, the national ID is the name of the program under the Prime Minister Office. So it's just the program which is undergoing in the Prime Minister Office. But what we are doing is we are issuing digital ID. So the name confusion, I hope it will get resolved as soon as national ID became an entity with its own legal ground and frameworks. So now that's what we got. That's how we are going with. So, but the digital ID, it was explained well, that we are giving is a biometrics based, not just a physical card. More of we are tilted to the digital part of the system, so that we issue a unique number to anyone who is resident in Ethiopia, not just like Ethiopians, but legally residents will have. You can imagine like anyone who going to get a service, a bank, anyone who want to open a bank account in Ethiopia. So we need to identify those pupils digitally, giving them a digital credential. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me give the opportunity to Bewket. Quickly, what's the learning you have started providing data center as a service in Ethiopia? What's the learning? We have seen what Raxio is doing, but what we want to know more is about what is actually the learning in trying to, getting this through. What do we learn?
Thank you very much, Gemechu. I'm honored, to be here as a sponsor as well. For the last 2 consecutive events. We will be keeping sponsoring this kind of platforms where it brings key players in the industry, and it is also part of our responsibility in the digital economy and in bringing a digital economy. So a little bit about Raxio, on top of what James has said earlier, we are the pioneers in bringing data centers in Africa. And we have the widest footprints across Africa. James was mentioning that the first data center of Raxio is in Uganda, which is operational. We will have one of the largest data center. We call it the next generation data centers. It's current neutral, cloud neutral as well, and with all the connected, dedicated for co-location services. Having said it, I could put this way, like your question. If you see the trend, like in the world, data center business is growing because of different reasons, like because of the high increase of public cloud services and Internet of Things. So you think of, having a smart city, and that cannot be achieved without a data center. So we are putting a foundations. So yes, there was a challenge. Because it needs a challenge. Because James also highlighting earlier that is what are the critical challenges that delays decisions. But we have seen the appetite from the industries, across the industry, you call it financial industries or small and medium enterprises, big government projects is also coming to us, So from the time that we start building our data center, we were, going to, introduce Raxio as a data center service provider, as a co-location service provider over here. And we have seen some appetites, like companies are coming to Addis, to check if we could provide co-location services to them. So this is what I could say on top of what we are doing so far in terms of building the foundation for the digitization of Ethiopian economy.
Okay. Thank you very much. Professor Stephen, you're back. My quick question to you is, because you talked about agile leadership, whether agile organization, agile employees, better that we do it willfully, otherwise we'll do it painfully. That's the thing you highlighted, which is very insightful. And my question to you to reflect on is that we are in the era of war for talent, as you know it, and including the leadership for the leadership team. So in Ethiopian finance sector, as we can see from observation, is that leave alone developing the agile leadership mindset and organizations. It's also becoming very difficult to have that in a traditional sense as well, not leave alone the digital form of it. Part of the reason why I think is there is, for the leadership team particularly, there is a requirement that is set in terms of number of years for someone to become a leader for a bank or insurance company, and sort of listed experiences in this case. So if someone is required to become a CEO, he requires to fulfill a certain requirement, number of years, kind of experiences. And my question is, given the new dynamism in the development of leadership in terms of approach and others, do you think this works? This model, this approach works to help the finance sector in Ethiopia, or do we have, from experience, you can reflect on that? And the other thing is, this also has reduced the pool of available leaders that are new entrants into the market. New insurances are coming, new banks are coming into the market, and the pool is restricted because of this requirement. That is what we think is a challenge. So is there any scientific evidence you can share with us or experience on this regard? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Excellent question, which applies not only to Ethiopia. And first of all, I think the thing to say positively is it's good to require leaders to have experience. However, I think you said that the expectation is they will have been through certain senior positions. Now, of course, they'll have led at a time in the relatively stable evolution. And just because they were good, even though it's in the same sector, it doesn't mean to say that they will quite understand how to adjust to rapid change, which affects all sectors. So whilst it's good to have experience, having experience in very stable conditions doesn't help you necessarily cope with adjusting to rapid change. If your question then says there's a limited pool of people and all industries want those people, there are new entrants coming into financial services, how can we find people who can actually have that experience to meet the criteria? Well, one of the things which may be a solution is to think about leaders from other industries. Now, that requires discussion with whoever sets the requirements, but of course, there are people in other industries who will already have experience of coping with rapid change, be agile. The challenge there is they need something, we may call it a conversion program, that says, don't come expecting everything to be the same in financial services as it was in the industries you've been in before. First of all, there's lots more regulation in financial services than possibly in your previous industry experience where you were successful. Also, the organizational cultures are very different because people have been used, as one of the speakers said, to needing to comply. So I do believe that leaders can transfer from one industry sector to another if they have appropriate conversion to help them understand the differences between where they've demonstrated their agility as a leader and the culture of organizations, the requirement for regulations. Yeah, the idea of a conversion program will actually open up the pool size of the number of potential leaders who could operate in financial services or indeed anywhere else, because as you say, it's a war for talent, and that war for talent is around the world. So I'd like to paint things positively and say experience in stable conditions is experience in stable conditions. We don't live in stable conditions anymore. And if there are individuals who have experience in rapidly changing and being able to be agile, then we ought to find a way to open that pool up by helping them convert. Don't just throw them in and let them crash around like a bull in a china shop, trying to do things the way they did before. Educate them in order that they understand the challenge. That's me.
Thank you very much. My take is it's not a bad idea for Berkeley banks to have a very good CEO from a hospitality industry as long as we give him a bridge to understand this, help him understand the sector. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, your example of choosing hospitality is interesting because hospitality is a service industry. Financial services is a service industry. There's lots of intangibility, but the culture of the financial services will be different to the culture of hospitality, and this is organizational culture, not the national culture I talked about before. But we can still have cultural collision, which was on one of my slides, not just moving from one country to another, but moving from one industry into financial services. It's about education and raising awareness of the differences.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate. I wish we have many questions, but unfortunately we are under time pressure. Coffee is out there. Apologies, friends, because we started a little bit late and we're running out of time. So as much as I have many questions to ask, and you also have many questions to ask, because we have a very interesting and critical discussion also waiting for us, can we take 10 minutes to go out for coffee and come back for the next session? With great apologies. The questions, we could probably find other sessions to discuss them. I hope you understand, and thank you very much. I really appreciate. Please don't take more than 10 minutes. And there is a break, coffee session around here, and coffee room here, and the other side also. Please come back within 10 minutes. Thank you very much.